Hello.
All right.
So yeah,
We're in a car.
We've just been on a little photo walk.
Don't do that too much. You've got a noisy coat.
Oh yeah, okay.
Um,
Just been for a little photo walk, and it's the first time you're seeing a video of us together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Apart from the odd little Instagram story.
Yeah.
This is the intro for
Our interview with Josh Astrop. We spoke to him in March.
quite a while ago.
It was like one of the first people we spoke to, but we just we held on to it, and we're probably going to put it out in 2 parts again because it's a really long episode. We just talked to him about, well,
he's not a photographer.
he says he's not a photographer, but he's got a photography exhibition coming up. So we'll mention that now. 21st of July in Northampton at the Marefair Gallery. He's got an exhibition called Complexion.
Yeah.
It's going to be up for a couple of weeks.
And the Marefair Gallery as well, if you're from Northampton, if you know it well, it's just next to Seoul Central. It's actually quite a new gallery. It's awesome. It obviously closed during lockdown. But yeah, if you can go and support, if you do want to go support, definitely go check the gallery out as well as Josh's work.
Yeah. So first thing he said to us when we got on the call with him was, I'm not a photographer, right? Which he was saying that because he shoots with a camera phone, and that's a photographer. He takes photos. Yeah. That's all. And people who have exhibitions are.
Well, he says that he's not a photographer because he doesn't own a digital or analog
or
camera,
a proper camera,
an SLR of some kind.
Yeah, but then when we kind of get into it, you kind of very quickly you go, well, what does make you a photographer?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say walking around taking photos, but so it's a really interesting chat with somebody who doesn't consider themselves to be a photographer, but takes really awesome shots and has a very good eye for photos and scenes and getting the type of image that he's trying to get.
Yeah. And it's just nice to talk to him about how he views things, because he says he's not a photographer, yet he clearly has the eye for it, because he's not taking photos of, well, I'm sure he takes photos of friends and family and all that kind of stuff, but if he sees something, he stops, composes a photo and takes it, regardless if it's on his phone or not, which I think is the purest thing about photography.
Yeah. Well, if you can hear all that noise around, we're sat in the car park and there's loads of kids burning around on mopeds and cars and that. So.
Idiots.
Yeah. So that's it really.
But yeah, enjoy.
Yeah.
Drum roll, please.
You know I'm not a photographer, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. I've seen your photographer. You are a photographer.
But this is interesting because it's like we were wanting to talk to people about different types of photography and how they do, why they do things in the way that they do it, and how they got into doing it. So the fact that you take really cool pictures but you just use your phone, it's kind of like there's a lot to talk about. The stuff that you do, you're currently just using your iPhone to do everything with. So if you could talk to us about how you got started, if you've ever used a camera, if you've ever learned how to use a camera or not, and then how you got to where you are now with what you're doing with all the stuff you're doing.
Because you've already said that you don't consider yourself as a photographer, but I've seen your work and it's good. It's definitely photography. Just because you might not use a £5,000 camera doesn't mean you're not a photographer as such. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I think I wouldn't say I was a photographer, but then I've never really thought about how you might define what a photographer is. Maybe somebody who does it professionally, someone who gets paid for doing that as a job. But then that's not true either, because a lot of people are amazing photographers and I've never sold any of them ever. So I guess I don't know what the criteria is, but I don't think I wouldn't class myself as that. Maybe because I'm doing everything on my phone, I don't know. But I had a DSLR about 10 years ago and never really used it to its potential. attempted to learn a few things, read a couple of books and get some guides, but I never really got my teeth into it to understand. I was changing all the settings on the camera, and I wasn't really doing any digital photo editing or anything like that. But I was sort of randomly doing things, and if it looked better, then great, and if it didn't, then I didn't really know why. And I lost patience with it before I learned the answer to those questions. So I didn't use that camera for long. But I've always, I used to have a rehearsal studio, and obviously have to do the social media for that, and the website and everything, I suppose. So any of the pictures there in the beginning were taken by me. So I had to do my best to take a good picture, because that was the promotional material for the studio. And if it didn't look good, people wouldn't turn up, and I wouldn't make any money, and we'd go out of business. So it's like, yeah, so like, fucking do a good job, or you don't get paid. So I think I learned some stuff there, even just basic things like the rule of thirds, which is like, I mean, most photographers probably learn that before they start learning about photography. It's such a basic thing. But then again, I don't know what I'm talking about, so maybe that's not true for you guys.
I don't think so. I think that's the sort of thing people learn, like, after a while. You find that you can put little grid lines on your screen if using a digital camera, and you might think, why is that? Or you buy a camera because you like the idea of it, and then you kind of think, oh, maybe I should learn some of the rules. And it's
those rules are meant to be those rules are meant to be broken, right? So it's all a personal thing. It's not something. It's not a guideline that you have to stick to. It's not a rule. It's something that's there to kind of help. But
I learned about the rule of thirds at school doing art, and I didn't understand what the fuck they were talking about. I was like, how does it look better if the guy on the screen is over there? We were watching some film, I can't remember, and I was like, why is that better? They should be in the middle. And then, who what's the guy's name who does that now? Wes Anderson. Everything is centralized, so it's kind of like, it's great when you can break it. But yeah, I guess it's one of the first rules that people learn. But yeah,
I mean, I say I learned it. I mean, I'm pretty sure someone mentioned it to me. I googled it, and then it came up with that picture with the swirls in it. Which is that the Fibonacci? Number thing. Yeah. So I don't understand that either. But I do understand that when you apply those rules to something, quite often it works, or it improves what you're trying to do. So yeah, I mean, I don't know why that is the case, but they said it is, so I tried it, and it was. So I was like, well, I'll keep doing that then. But just basic things like that. So I started to I was taking photos for work, really, and then I suppose I just started to want to take better pictures. So maybe just a bit more attention, and simple things like, don't just take one picture, take a few pictures, and have you thought about how you're looking at this, or have you thought about what's in the background, what's in the foreground, and most of it I'm just trying to do something that looks good. And I know good is subjective, but it's really what's good to me. So yeah, I mean, just try, and if I'm doing it for myself, if I like it, then that's fine, and that's all I'm trying to do. I mean, it's just chance if somebody else likes it.
I think it should only ever be for yourself. That I don't know. That's maybe my opinion. I get people get paid to do, work or do photography, which is absolutely fine. It's something that's needed. But when it comes to being a hobbyist, like we all are with photography, it should be 100% about what you're into. Even if that changes week by week, that you'll always get the best results if it's just shooting what you want to do.
Yeah, and there's like, do you shoot thinking how it's going to look on Instagram, like, without that meaning to sound reductive if it does?
Fuck you.
But like, fucking shooting for the gram. But like, because that's the final place, I guess, for it to end up. Like, I'm like, oh, that says a nice shadow there or whatever. And I take loads of pictures of my kids and all that kind of thing that I don't put on there.
Yeah, I do. I think I take the pictures because I think it would make a good picture. Like, I'm just trying to think what is good. I mean, it's like pleasing to look at, however, whatever that is to you. But I take them all suitable for Instagram story, because ultimately I'm trying to share these things. I mean, I'm not, I've got no plans to like sell them or do this as a job. I don't particularly want to. That's one thing that I've discovered actually during this last year. In the past, I've always like, if I stumbled across something interesting that I like to do, whether that's like merch or whether that's gigs or whatever, it's like, right, okay, how can I keep doing this? Probably need it to make some money, to make it worthwhile doing it. So I like turn it into a business, and I've done that on like 10 or 20 different things. But something that I've learned this last year is to not do that, to just do it for fun.
That's really interesting.
It makes it more, you know, you stay into it for longer, don't you, in that way? Because you're never going to be disheartened if you're just enjoying what you do.
Yeah.
You've got no expectations over you, so you don't put that burden on your own shoulders.
I think it's a really good thing to do with photography in particular, because it's such an enjoyable hobby or pastime or whatever it is, and it's really good for, at the moment, like, it makes you get out of the house, it's good for your mental health, it's good for you to like walk around, and like, even if you're out without your camera, you can kind of like picture things and compose things in your head, but you should never go out without your camera, just as an aside. But as soon as you then become professional doing it, you're gonna kind of lose that love of just going out with a camera because it's your job. Even when it came down to this that we're doing, when me and Jamie talked about making a logo, I was like, I don't want to make a logo. That's what I do for my day job. Like, and so Jamie's partner, Vicky, designed our logo, because I was just like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, shout out to her for doing that, by the way.
Yeah. We should put a link. We should mention it at some point. But
yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It kind of, it's such a nice thing just to go out and do. So do you find, because you're doing it with an iPhone, which you've always got on you anyway, you're kind of looking for shots, I'm guessing, in general, but do you ever just go out with the purpose of taking a photograph?
Yeah, I've only done that a couple of times. I mean, it's only really been in the last 6 months, maybe, that I've started, or that I've discovered that I like taking pictures, like mostly in town, because I work in town, and I was walking after work, and especially during the winter, it's dark before I finish, so I'd go for a walk through town just before I went home for the evening to do nothing that we're all doing at the moment. I thought I'd just have a little walk before I wrap it up for the day. And the streets are quiet, and there were just loads of little areas that I thought looked really cool. So I thought, well, I'll take a picture. And because I was doing that every day, I'd normally get one image a day that was decent. But I'm not intentionally going out to take a picture, and I often don't. I'm conscious of like not making it too much of a routine, so there's any pressure to get it done, because that's like turning something into a business is an excellent way to end up hating it, I think, in my opinion. Not always, but I think it does increase the chances. Not in your website's case, of course. Which I you know what, I didn't know what the website was or what you guys were doing. I listened to your first episode a couple of days ago, and it's perfect. It's like, someone like me is exactly what I need, because a couple of people have messaged me and saying, oh, you should sell these, or are you going to do an album or a book or whatever? And I thought, oh, that would be really cool, actually. I'd quite like that. But then I'm like, I already do stuff where I'm like selling stuff, and I've got to meet minimum order requirements, and I'm just doing it myself. So it's like you have to do every element, and it's just, And I think unless you want to focus your time on that, then having to do it outside of work as well as other things that you've got going on, it quickly becomes difficult or stressful. So a website like yours, where you here you go, I'll explain it back to you and you can tell me if I'm right, and then you know if you've done a good job with your first podcast. So I would upload my images to your website for no charge, and then if they sold, you take a cut and I take a cut, but it's generously favoured in my direction. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's a platform to be able to sell your work if you want to, and we will do the posting, the printing, the packaging of everything, and we take a very small cut to cover the cost of that and to maintain our website. And then it gives you a chance to, like you said, if you're busy with work or other projects that you're working on, it just takes the stress away of you having to, go out and do all that kind of part.
And it doesn't make it into this whole big thing for you. Like, as a photographer, you just kind of, you put your work on it. We've set a minimum price for different sizes of photos, so you can't like undersell yourself, which is a thing that people really tend to do. So you kind of, you don't have to feel bad that, I'm charging someone 20 quid or 30 quid or whatever, depending on the size, because you can't charge them less than that. And then also when you sell something, you'll be happy that you actually get a decent chunk of money, rather than selling something and ending up with like £3 or something because you sold it too cheaply. So I think that's the thing with a lot of people as well. You kind of,
that's kind of it, isn't it? Obviously, there's lots more to it, but without talking too much about what we're doing, we want to be finding out about what you're doing. But I think going back, because you were saying, you didn't really know about us, but obviously, if you don't know, we're from Northampton. Josh, you're from Northampton. We kind of deliberately didn't mention that. Well, we didn't kind of promote our own area, did we, at the start so much? Just because we didn't want it to be a Northampton thing, if you know what I mean, because it was so much more than that we were working on.
We didn't put two N's in front. Maybe we should have done a little nod. But
definitely should have done that.
Incorporated the lift tower somewhere into the
going back to you kind of walking around and taking photos. I think that I wanted to kind of know, Luke kind of already covered it with, are you going out to actually shoot photos on your phone, or is it just something like when you're walking around and you happen to see something? But I think that's the important part of it, is that you'll still have the kind of eye to look for something and find beauty in something, rather than just having your phone and going, there's two of my mates getting drunk, I'll take a photo of that. You're still kind of using your brain to look at things in a certain way and take the time to get out your phone or get out a camera, whatever it might be, and capture that, regardless if there's people in it or it's something to do with what you're working on, whatever it might be. But I think that's the importance of photography. It's not about the equipment you use.
Well, it's difficult for me to say because I've only ever had one, other than like a digital camera that I had like 20 years ago with like a 1.2 megapixel quality. I had a DSLR that I didn't really use, but like I say, that was, you've always got your phone on you, so you can always take a picture. But I also don't want to be taking pictures of everything. It's such a cliche. I hesitated there because I didn't want to say it, but like not taking pictures at gigs and stuff because I want to watch the gig and rather than looking through your phone. And I know that's a cliche. If people say, "Oh man, I don't take pictures. I just taking the experience." And
they're holding their camera like that, going, yeah.
And it sounds a bit wanky, like you're putting down people that do take pictures, and you're just, oh no, I'm experiencing it. I never look back at those photos, very rarely. So I just consciously, I think I'm just trying to use my phone less in general, or intentionally use it, like not just randomly pick it up because I'm bored, or like I take a picture if I think this is going to be a good picture, not just walk around with my phone out, just like taking loads of pictures. I think
I think one photo as well can also, as cheesy as it sounds, one photo is just as powerful. Like if you went to a gig or an event or whatever, people are there all day filming and putting on their stories, or they take 500 photos of their favourite band, which is all well and good. But really, when you look back in 3 years' time, if you just had the one photo, it will still sum up that whole time for you. And you'll go, oh yeah, that was such a good day. I was there doing X, Y, and Z. And that one photo is all that's needed, not 500 or, little videos and that.
Yeah, or you just look on Instagram at someone else's and go, yeah, that was from that time. I saw that band. They were stood like 3 people away from me or whatever. I have like a thing with bands. I will take a photo or I will film it for like 30 seconds. And I'll be like, when they play this song, I'm going to film the intro or the chorus, or that's it. And I'm not going to do it anymore. I've been to gigs where there's just been people, the camera's like in your face, or their hands are right in front of your face for ages, and you end up watching it through their phone, and it's really weird. You can't help yourself. It's really strange, and you do you get pulled out of it. You lose you're not lost in it. Not lost in the moment. You just kind of like forget what you're doing almost. It is a weird thing. Do you find that different music sort of caters towards it more, different bands? Like I went to see Lizzo and the entire thing was just phones in the air for an hour and a half, but then you go and watch like at the drive-in, some phones come out for One Arm Scissor and that's it. It's just kind of like everyone else, it's kind of a bit of a different audience, I guess. So do you find that when you've gone out and you've taken photos, do you ever look for people in the street? Like, because I do that a lot. I don't try and like hide from them, but I will try and be a certain amount of like inconspicuousness. Do you ever find that people catch you trying to take photos, or do they do it less so because you've got an iPhone, or do you just never try and take photos like that at all?
Yeah, I try. I don't take pictures with people, random people in them. I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe because I don't want them to say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it happens. But it does happen occasionally, and you just sort of say, "Sorry, taking a photo." And if it's digital, you can delete it. Only ever happened to me.
Yeah, I think. Maybe I should. I think it's just coincidence in mine for the first few that because it was at night during a lockdown that there wasn't anyone about really. But then I am trying to get really sharp, as sharp as I can get with my phone. So I always try to take pictures without anything moving in it because I'm sure I can maybe use a more advanced app than the basic app on the iPhone to combat that. But when it's in the moment, I'm not quick enough to be able to get the right shot. So I think I've just always taken them of like buildings or streets or stuff.
I still think when I look at your work that you have posted, I still think it might be a coincidence or a complete fluke, but you definitely think about what you're taking a photo of, especially when it comes to the building. I look at it and I can see like nice lines or a nice contrast to it. And me and Luke were talking about earlier, like all your photos are, portrait because it's how you picked up the phone and taken it. I think that's wicked. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like there's an aesthetic right on your Instagram grid, which is, again, I don't know if that's like a bad thing to say, but people do go for that. But it looks really cool when you've just got portrait photos. There's one I really like took me ages to work out what it was, but I think if I remember it rightly, it's loads of cigarettes in a air. What is it?
Like the air curtain.
Yeah. But like, was that just something you found, or something that like?
That was really. I love that picture because it was a really important night. That one. I think I started taking pictures when I was not feeling great mentally. I was like really sad and directionless and a bit hopeless, and I wasn't sure what I was doing or where I was going. So I'd go out on a lot of walks. Anyway, and that's what started me taking all of these pictures. Anyway, I got through that, and I went out one night with my friend Haley, and I went to get the car washed, and it was at a place on the way out to Holston Firs that used to be a car garage and now is a car wash. So we went in there and we were queuing, and it happened to be a really long queue, so we were in the car for about half an hour, and we just started chatting, and she wasn't feeling great at the time, and she was talking about how she was a bit worried about the future, and she was getting upset, and then I was talking a bit about the future, and I was getting a bit upset, and and we joke about it now, like, let's go back to the saddest car wash in the world and get the car wash. But I mean, it was such. While the car was getting washed, we went into the customer waiting area where that air curtain was, and there were all those cigarettes in it. It's like, well, someone's been washing a car and their fag packet got wet, so they're drying the cigarettes in the air curtain. I thought, perfect. That's brilliant. But I'll remember that night forever. It was quite emotional, but we were both feeling a bit shitty, and we both helped each other and sort of got through it. And I got a nice picture that was quite funny, and it was just a really just random thing. But yeah, I mean,
it's strange how you say that, because going back to what we were saying, how, you know, like one photo can cause a whole series of memories for you. And then Luke, what you were saying then about from a viewer's point, we look at a photo and you go, oh, that's a wicked photo, and we don't even know the meaning behind it. We can just appreciate it's a good photo, and then to hear the explanation behind it makes it even cooler, because you know, you just told us that whole story, and it's only from one packet of some soggy cigarettes that are sitting on the side that you've got that memory from it. Which is, it doesn't have to, you know, you're not going to pick up a phone and take a selfie of you both teary eyes in the car, are you? But one photo from that day or night or whatever it was, you can remember it from that, and I think that's one of the reasons it's so powerful.
Yeah, it was a strange night. I think we queued up for half an hour as well, and then got to the front of the queue, and I didn't have any cash, and he was like, oh, it's cash only. So we had to, so we left, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go back to these guys. They're good guys. And then I went and got some money out, went back, and then he gave me a discount because I came back to him. And I thought, oh, that was quite sweet of him. But no, it's weird how it was like, could have potentially been a really sad, depressing evening, but it actually turned out to be really nice, and it was great, and it was exactly what both of us needed, and yeah, and it's nice that picture reminds me of that. Really, I didn't really think about it.
When you took it at the time, it didn't represent that, but like you said, looking back at that now, you can look at that and go, yeah, that was actually a wicked day. I always remember one photo you took, and I can't remember how long ago you posted it, but I don't know which park it is, but I'm guessing it's a park or countryside, but you've got like a tree coming off from the left-hand corner, which is like silhouetted, and then a really nice cloud, which is on the other side, which again is like aesthetically pleasing. And then you've got the nice countryside off in it. But I don't know, like I would have seen that and gone, oh, that looks cool. And then, but not thought about it. I don't know if it was an accident that you just, you know, is it one of those times you just happen to walk across and go, that's a nice view? Or did you think about taking the photo? But does that apply with everything? Do you sit there and kind of think about how the photo is going to come out?
Yeah, I think I do think about, and because I do them all black and white, but I'm obviously taking them in colour. It's not a filter I'm putting on as I'm taking the picture. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. So yeah.
Do you edit the photos to black and white? Do you mess around with the contrast or the blacks or the curve, or is it just click of a button, turn to black and white? That's what I've got.
No, I edit them in Lightroom, so I have slowly learned a bit more about Lightroom. So I do now, make them black and white, and a lot of the stuff I just do exactly the same stuff to every picture. Like vignette, I always put on there, and the optic adjustment. But then shadows and highlights and stuff, I'll play it by how it looks. I quite often use the third black. I'm giving away all my secrets now, aren't I? I quite often use the third black and white preset in Lightroom. That seems to work. Well, I just like them quite dark. I think that's why that's why I've stuck to taking pictures more often than not in the evening. I really like the sort of dark, really intense blacks in the picture, and just a sort of nighttime evening aesthetic.
Well, I was going to ask why black and white and not colour, but that kind of explains it, I guess. Not that there's a wrong or right with black and white or colour, but yeah, I was going to ask why kind of black and white, but that kind of narrative.
Yeah, I think I started doing it black and white because I felt like there was less that could go wrong. I think I feel like colour, there's way more adjustment, and there's I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I would imagine there's more rules or standards maybe about different colours and intensities and palettes and stuff. Whereas black and white, I felt like I had enough skills and knowledge, which wasn't a lot, to at least make a good picture. Whereas I feel like with colour, it's a lot harder to get that right, and I feel like there's more to adjust. I don't know, maybe that's not true.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. I think that there's a lot you can go wrong with colour, and it's harder sometimes to. I always have a thing about this. Like, you can take a good photo in black and white, if it's colour, it can be like, that's an all right picture, and you make it black and white and you go, oh, it looks quite arty now, and that's sort of a bit of a crux that you can use. But also there's a whole other side of it where if you're a total purist, you only ever shoot in black and white. If you can take like amazing color shots, there's a guy I really like called Edis Wong, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he does street photography, and they're all in color, and they're really funny. They're just like, it'll be like a person standing waving at somebody from across the road, and behind them there's a billboard of somebody waving, or just these little like moments of synchronicity. And he doesn't do anything to kind of enhance the photos or anything like that, because on their own there's some humor in them and that kind of thing. And so I think when you've kind of got that down to such a fine art as he has, it doesn't matter at that stage whether you're doing them in black and white or whether you're doing them in color, or whether they're perfectly composed or whether it's a bit blurry or whatever it is. You're kind of doing it for a different reason. And then you have other people who are like pure like black and white photographers, and everything is sometimes edited so heavily, and the whites are pulled up and the blacks are pulled down and all this kind of stuff. And I know that people really like it, but I don't really like it personally.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we put out on our Instagram story a question like, do you prefer black and white or colour in like general day-to-day street photography? And it finished, we had a lot of people vote, and it finished 50-50. But I don't know, we had quite a few messages, and I always think that if you took, like, when I personally shoot colour, I'm looking for a subject in a photo that will stand out, whether it be a building, a person, or whatever it might be. But when I'm shooting black and white, or with the intention of the result being black and white, I want the whole image to look attractive. So I want to be able to look at that photo, and you look, because you're not necessarily focusing on one part of it, you're looking at every single part of it. And I think that's quite a powerful thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I want somebody to take me aside and say, this is why you shoot in black and white, and explain it to the point I can go, yeah, I get it. I'm going to spend the next year only shooting black and white. But at this stage, I don't get it. It's just as like an only kind of thing.
You mentioned the grid on my Instagram account looks good. Man, it fucking irritates me so much that there's loads of pictures before I started that aren't following that pattern.
I think every single photographer goes through that probably twice a year, I'd say. I've recently just deleted loads of my photos because I'm like, they're crap and they look bad. And I was just like, I said to myself, I was like, what am I using Instagram for? I'm not using it for people to look at. I'm using it to keep a diary, so to speak. But then how often do you really go on someone's profile and look through it? I don't know, yeah, maybe as a photographer you do, but normally you're scrolling through and you come across the next photo and, you know, you study it, look at it, like it, whatever you might be. I don't know, it's different, isn't it? It's a weird one.
Yeah, I've had like, I just decide Instagram is like a sketchbook for your photos, and you just chuck them up there, and obviously spend some time like taking decent photos and making them look good, but I like to look back through my old ones, and usually it makes me go, God, I'm so crap at photography. All my old stuff is great, and as it just gets worse and worse and worse. But it's interesting to look back at it and see, like, just used to use different colored borders and all that kind of thing. And then I don't know what the end result, not end result. I don't know what my end goal is.
What you're working towards.
It's not just to put photos on Instagram forever, but I also know that I've only really been doing it as like a daily thing for about 2 years, maybe a little bit longer. So I've got another like 10 years before I need to decide like what type of, you know, photographer am I going to be, or what am I actually going to do with it, before I kind of be good enough for it. So it's kind of like, it's nice to just play around with stuff. But yeah, definitely go through times where you're like, oh, I'm just going to get rid of everything, or all the stuff that doesn't fit the current whatever. Because one day you might not only post vertical iPhone shots and stuff.
I've gone too far now. I've gone too far. I can't stop.
Yeah. We're going back.
It's the balance, though, isn't it? Like, do you continue that because you want it to look a certain way, but at the same time, is anyone really going to care if you post a landscape photo? If anything, it will stand out more, so you better make sure it's a good one. But I don't know, like, then you've got unneeded pressure, right?
Yeah. There's the thing as well, like we spoke to one of our friends, Ayush, who is a photographer. He's quite young, and he's getting really well known in like the photographs protests. And by the time this comes out, we've had him on the podcast. And he was, I think in 2018, he won, there's a company called IM who are a photography like, you know, like Magnum or something like that. He was photographer of the year in 2018. And the photo that got him that title was taken on his phone. And he does loads of different type of stuff, but it was just this one quick shot that he took of somebody for a project. He was taking pictures of like extreme tattoos. But it's not even, in the end, it's not actually a photograph of somebody with tattoos. I mean, it is, but that you don't look at it and go, oh, look at all those tattoos. It's just a really well framed image of a man standing in front of a tower block. And it's so good. And yeah, he was like, oh no, I just took it on my phone, and then took some other shots with him, and the one on my phone was the better one. And then what did he say? He had like appendicitis or something and went into hospital. And when he came out of hospital, he was like, oh, I've won this award.
Yeah, just had an email waiting for him saying, yeah, you won with this image. But it's correct because, you know, and he's into photography, yeah, that's his job and his passion. Yet he's like, yeah, it's fine, just whatever you've got, go out and take photos, regardless if it's something you do set time aside for, or just remember your phone has a camera and you can still produce good results. And it's always what you should think about those results, not taking it for someone else.
Do you find like using the iPhone in the dark, like what sort of phone is it? Is it an old one, or is it like, do you always upgrade it to the newest? Because I find in the dark, mine is quite, I don't know, the quality isn't great, but I haven't got like I haven't got 3 lenses on my phone or anything like that.
I've got a 12 mini, so it's like it's a new. Well, I mean, I'm sure the 12 Pro Max, whatever it is, the big one has got a better camera, but I wanted a smaller phone. So I mean, quite often it's grainy, or it does that long exposure thing that it does that's really annoying. It just like a 3-second, you know,
merges them all together, doesn't it?
Yeah. But generally, I've not had any trouble with it. I mean, even some of the darker ones I've taken, I've had street lights and stuff in them, so they've not been too bad. But no, I'm sure there's some that I've taken that haven't turned out good enough.
Do you ever look at this and think, I need to get a camera, or do you want to stay away from it?
Yeah, I don't want to get a camera because
you're happy with what you've got now.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's I could get a nice camera and I could learn more stuff and take more pictures and become a real photographer. But I don't want to.
Yeah. That is the problem as well. As soon as you buy a camera, you get into the kind of gear side of things, and you're like, oh, I need new lenses, and it all becomes a massive kind of, doesn't have to be a big investment, but you do just find yourself looking through other things, need to upgrade it and all that sort of stuff. So it's like a slippery slope to just spending all your money.
Yeah, I think I almost got a new Polaroid camera a couple of months ago, and I was going to just take black and white photos with that. But I'm not going to carry that around all the time. So the only time I'd have it is when I intentionally went out to take photos. And I don't want to do that. I want to take a picture of something when I see it. Yeah, spontaneous, and if it looks good, I'll take a picture of it.
Is it, because I was going to ask, and the answer, I think I know that the answer is no, but well, no, I'll ask it differently. So have you ever considered shooting on film rather than on digital, just because of the process being, it slows you down and it makes you kind of, you don't just snap away and take random stuff? Is it something that you've ever thought about, or not?
Yeah, I think well, even with a digital camera, it's gonna, like an actual camera, not a phone camera, that's gonna slow you down because it takes time or whatever. But film even more so. Yeah, I think you've got to be more intentional, because it requires more effort to process or whatever, or it's or however you get it processed, whether you do it yourself or whatever. I just don't want it to take any more time than it does now, basically. Which might sound lazy, but I'm not trying to be a photographer. I'm not taking pictures for anyone else. It's purely for my pleasure, and I enjoy doing it this way. So I think if I stop enjoying it, or if I want to try something else, I will. But this seems to be a bit of, at the moment, the way I do it seems to be fun to take the pictures and edit them. So I'll stick with the way it is, I think.
I think that's important for other people to understand that as well, because someone might like the idea of taking photos, whether it be once a week, once a month, or going out for a couple of hours a day, but they're too scared to invest in a camera. But you don't need to. If you just enjoy it, like you said, just walk around. If you see something that appeals to you, whatever it might be, pull your phone out and take a photo. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. If you enjoy looking at it, or you go home and you think, well, that was a waste of time, it doesn't matter. You haven't lost anything. Everyone's got a phone with a camera on nowadays, haven't they?
Do you find that so I was going to ask about, like, when you caption the pictures that you put on Instagram, you tend to do similar, I'll pick lyrics, and you often do that. But do you find it do you always do it? And do you find it holds up posting of an image because you're waiting to find the right lyric?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. My focus when I'm doing it is that this is going to be a picture for an Instagram story. That's my goal, is that it looks the way I want it to look there, and it has music on it, because music is something that I love, and I enjoy the process of trying to match the two in some way, and I like the fact that there's no explanation there, so everyone watching it doesn't know what the link might be. And I'm not explaining it. And I only started putting a caption in. Why did I start doing that? I don't think I did it from the start. I might have even left it blank. I'm not even sure if I bothered putting in any hashtags or anything like that. But then, I think I might have seen you put in lyrics in there. I think it might have been that.
It's a good idea, isn't
it? Yeah. Well, I thought it's always good to have something there, and and if I can relate it to the song that I've picked, hopefully, I mean, I've thought about this, like, should I be, I'm sure there are people that have seen the photo in my feed and not known that there was a story with a song attached to it that was sort of part of the piece, but and then there'll be people that have seen the story and don't know that I post it on the feed as well. Like, I'm thinking, should I put new post on here and should I do this? And I just thought, fuck it, I can't be bothered. It's like, it's on there, and the only frustrating thing is the feed image is less quality, less resolution or whatever than the story. So, and that's the one that stays there for as long as I leave it up. So that is, I mean, I know I can save the story in my highlights and stuff so that people can go back and see a larger, hopefully crisper image, but I don't know, I just couldn't be bothered to do that.
No, it's a lot of effort in it. I don't think anyone's looking through Instagram for like pinpoint pixel peeping, like zooming into your photos and checking that it's all perfectly in focus and whatever. And that is a good thing. So I've posted so many pictures that are out of focus, but when you put them on Instagram, they like kind of look all right. And I was like, I was going to bin it, but actually it'll be fine. But
you just got it enough to make it passable.
The joy of like finding the perfect lyric. Sometimes I'll see it, I'll try and think of something. And sometimes I'll just flick through songs. I'll flick through stuff that I've been listening to. So sometimes I'll just post a lyric that I like from a song that I've been listening to in the last few days, and it means nothing more than that. It doesn't really link to the image. But sometimes it's like, it's the perfect little like one liner or whatever it is. And I always tag the band in it, that I don't expect them to see it, but every now and again they'll reply or send a message or something, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, they normally, and they always reply positively. I originally started doing it because I felt like I was stealing their lyrics to caption an image, and they might be like, I don't like that, take it down. So I thought, I'm not trying to hide the fact that I'm doing it. I'm tagging them in it, and if they want it taking down, then I'll change it. And that's obviously being super over cautious.
Just giving them their credit where credit's due, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not trying to pretend it's something. I do every now and again get people saying, "Oh, I love the caption," and I'm like, "Cool, it's not. I didn't write it. It's a song by so and so." And then but it's really nice when it kind of works, or it's really nice when a band replies and goes, "Oh, thanks for using a lyric," especially it's usually like smaller bands and whatever.
I don't do that, and I think maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
I did think of that, because when you select the track for the story, it lets the artist know, doesn't it, automatically, if you pick their song on your story. I didn't think about the caption. Oh, I feel guilty now.
Now you've got to do another. Now you just got to go through them all again. They all hate you now, Josh. They all hate you.
But what I do, I put the lyric, just if you want to copy me exactly, lyric, and then the hashtags, and then the name of the song, and then the...
I'll have to tag you in it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys find this with music, but like, whatever your chosen platform is, or use a few, like whether it be SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Spotify. But I'll listen to music all day while I'm working, and I've got so many playlists, and I've named them whatever they are. But I never listen to those playlists because I'm always looking for new music, or I'll, right click bands that are similar, whatever it might be, and I'm trying to discover new music. I'm like, oh, this is wicked. I'll save that album, or I'll add this song that I like into this playlist. But I never really go into those playlists. I don't know if you find the same. Obviously, you get times where you fancy listening to something, but if I'm just kind of chilling, I never really listen to those playlists.
No, I don't think you do. It's probably similar to fucking taking loads of photos that you don't need and you're never going to look back to.
Yeah, I try and add stuff. I have our playlist where I'll add a song, and I try and remember that playlist, because I'm like, that's a band I've never heard, or that's a song I've never heard from a band I know, and I don't want to forget that it exists, basically, because there's so much noise. You sometimes find a band you really love have released an album. You're like, when the fuck did that happen? and you just miss it because there's so much noise and there's so much like being shoved at you all the time. And yeah, we have a playlist for the kids that I'm like, when I think of a classic song that my kids need to know about, from the last, 30, 40 years, usually, I'm like, that gets added onto that, and it gets put on shuffle in the car, and they get subjected to new order usually. Other than that, yeah, you just kind of lose stuff all the time, don't you?
I always find that though, especially with Spotify, yeah. So I follow as many bands as I can because I want to be notified when they get a new song, new album, whatever it might be. But it's quite funny because on a Friday, it's like New Music Friday or whatever, yeah. So you look at what's released, but that's all kind of like mainstream stuff or whatever. So I always go on my release radar, which in theory should be based around the music that I listen to, which it is for the most part. But if I ever do anything different on Spotify, so like I went through a stage of when I got my dog Thrasher, I was playing him dog podcast or whatever, which helped him go to sleep, or what I thought would help him go to sleep. But then my release radar on a Friday was all based around animal podcasts. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, this doesn't help me.
Yeah, it doesn't work properly sometimes, does it? You're like, there's no way of saying I want to listen to this song, but I don't want to be suggested loads of stuff like this. It's really, it's quite annoying. And yeah, frozen soundtracks and stuff like that is usually my thing. Get suggested all that kind of stuff, but I kind of I do actively have to try and keep that stuff off of it. And I'm like, if you want to listen to that, just put it on YouTube. And I don't want it mucking up my algorithms or whatever it is. But it never works. You get all these playlists made for you and they're like, oh, it's your personal playlist. And you're like, wow, well done. They're the 50 songs I've listened to most recently. Like, that's rubbish. That's not clever at all. I could have made that. It's not suggesting anything new to me.
Is there anything more frustrating? Well, there's lots of things more frustrating, but it's really annoying when you take a nice picture and you put it on Instagram in the story and you're like, oh, I know exactly the right song. And then it's not fucking on there. Oh.
Yeah. It happens all the time. And because I always post it to my story with the song after I've posted the image. So it's only then that I find out, fuck, that album isn't on there or whatever. Or you want to post it with like the lyrics, which I don't tend to do, but sometimes the lyrics are wrong. And you're like, that's not...
The worst is when you see the song, but it's some crazy remix of it by some, whoever it is, and it's nothing like the song that you're actually going for. It might be the same lyrics, but it don't sound anything like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really annoying. And I'm like, right, so am I going to post it and tag the band, tag a different song, or am I going to not tag them at all? It's hard. Yeah.
Idiots.